Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Meet Our Member campaign. We're hosting today Sonia Mirbaha and Josh Schachnow, partners at Mirbaha and Schachnow LLP, a Canadian business immigration boutique law firm, to talk about business immigration to Canada and how they have been helping technology companies and startups interested in setting up operations in Canada. Sonia, Josh, good morning. Thanks for being here today with us.
Good morning, Carolina.
Morning, Carolina. Thanks for
Pleasure to be
having us.
here.
Thanks for being here. So, Sonia, why don't we start with you? Why don't you start telling us a little bit about the firm and a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So we're a boutique immigration firm out of Toronto, and we deal with a whole array of immigration services. We do specialize in business immigration, deal with a lot of corporations that are coming to Canada to settle in Canada and open up a shop in Canada. I personally have many years of experience in immigration field. I started more than 10 years ago. I would say 15 years ago now. Gosh, time flies so quickly. And dealt with individual applications and dealt with a lot of corporate applications. And then when I started my firm as SMB Business Immigration, which then later on we partnered up with Josh and changed it to Mirbaha Schachnow LLP. I brought that wealth of knowledge from before and kind of combined it with Josh's knowledge to work with immigration applications. And like I said, we're serving corporations, individuals at the same time. And that's all we do.
Thank you so much. So, Josh, besides working, of course, being a partner at the firm, you're also the founder of Visto AI. Could you please tell us a little bit about Visto AI and how they can help applicants as well looking to immigrate to Canada?
Yeah, so as opposed to kind of more of the traditional law firm or, traditional approach or options that are out there, more focused around individuals, for those who are looking to come to Canada or get permanent residence in Canada, we created a platform called Visto.ai where people outside of Canada can look into some of the best ways to come here without requiring a job, right? So evaluating and selecting and even starting some of the different options that can be best, more focused on individuals. As Sonia said, the firm is a little bit more centered around helping businesses and helping employees of businesses. And then my platform at Visto helps individuals try to find and get started on the best ways to come to Canada on their own.
Amazing. So talking a little bit about the technology sector. So Brazil has currently 12 unicorns and over 12,000 startups. And this means a 27% growth and compared to only 2018 numbers. So the Brazilian ecosystem is booming with tons of investments in high quality workforce. On the other hand, you have Canada has been attracting successful startups from all over the world looking to scale their international operations. How can Brazilian startups take advantage of the Canadian ecosystem to internationalize their operations? Josh.
Josh, do you want to take a crack at it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a few ways, and we've done a fair amount of work with people coming from Brazil or hiring Brazilians as well. So there's almost two ways I would approach the question. Number one is for individuals who are in Brazil and or working in or wanting to get into the tech ecosystem. There are a lot of innovative immigration programs that are targeting skilled workers to get them to come into Canada. So if I was a tech worker working in a tech company, maybe looking to move to Canada or break into the Canadian ecosystem, try and look into what's happening in the Canadian tech ecosystem, because it's now, easier than it's ever been, I would say, COVID being the asterisk here. But, to try and find a job or to come through a PR program like Express Entry to get permanent residence without needing a job. On the other hand, if I was maybe a tech startup or thinking about starting a company or already have an established company in Brazil, again, there's a bunch of other options. And one of the main things that we do through our firm is help people pick the right option for them to do what they want to do. But just a few examples could be things like the startup visa for a company that may want to relocate into Canada. The ICT work permit for a company that may want to establish a Canadian branch and then move some of their employees over. The Global Talent Stream is another expedited work permit focused on tech workers specifically. So if you're looking to open or expand into Canada and then bring Brazilian tech or even any other citizenship type of tech worker over as well, there's a lot of these kind of newer programs that are making it easier than ever.
Yeah. So, Sonia, can you give us a little bit of a little bit more information on what are those programs, right? Like Josh mentioned a couple. Are these the more popular ones, and how the application works, like in a nutshell?
Right. So as Josh mentioned, there are a couple of few programs available for IT workers. Global Talent Streams has been, very successful since the beginning of the program back in 2017, and that's essentially an LMIA stream, labor market impact assessment stream. That leads to work permit in Canada. So for people for IT workers that have secured a job in Canada, or for companies that have subsidiaries in Canada, but the worker is not qualified to come through the intercorporate transfer, they can look into obtain LMIA from Service Canada. The process is really fast, really efficient, and has not been affected by COVID delays so much so as the other programs. It takes about 10 to 14 business days to get the LMIA, and also it takes about another month or two, depending on which country they're coming from. In the case of Brazilians, it might take up to 2 to 3 months. This is resulted by the COVID. Prior to COVID, the entire process used to take only 1 month for the person to enter Canada. It was considered one of the fastest and most efficient ways of bringing IT workers to Canada. So this is on the work permit side. On the immigration side, the startup visa, again, to add to Josh's comment, is one of the most popular ways for the companies to transfer their activities to Canada. This way, kind of leads to permanent residency. It's slightly different, or actually very different, than work permit. Work permit is a temporary residency of Canada. This will lead to permanent residency of Canada, but obviously the process is lengthy, and obviously the requirements is a bit more adhesive and a bit more in detail. However, when the beauty of the program is that when the companies or when the individuals are applying through this program, they can also apply for work permit to enter Canada as soon as possible in order to start their business activities until their permanent residency application is finalized. Now, we do have ICT process as well. That stands for intercorporate transferring, and that's essentially designed for more of a larger corporations, international corporations that have offices around the world. I'm going to leave that to Josh to explain more details about it. But all of these programs have been working so efficient and in bringing IT workers to Canada, and it's continuing to work efficiently even during the COVID pandemic.
Perfect. So Josh, we can give a little bit more information then. What about the skilled tech workers and the intercompany services?
Yeah, one of the great parts of the Canadian immigration process is there are a lot of these different ways that Canada's making it easy for especially tech companies to kind of establish themselves in Canada, and then also to bring workers over, right, in one way or another, right? We're lucky because there's actually multiple ways, right? So as an example, if you're a Brazilian corporation, you want to open up a Canadian corporation, you're now looking at multiple ways, depending on the company and the type of employees, to actually bring Brazilian workers, or again, this could be from any country, bringing them into Canada. ICT stands for intra-company transfer, wherein if you're employing certain types of workers who've been working at your foreign or Brazilian entity for a certain amount of time, you can apply for a work permit that's LMI exempt to bring them into Canada. Again, you can use the Global Talent Stream program if you're talking specifically about tech workers. Even though you have to go through an LMI for that, it's a very fast LMI, typically within 2 weeks, even throughout COVID, which is kind of nice. And that's just a few. Those are probably the two most popular. Sonia, correct me if I'm wrong, but those are probably the two most popular ones that we see for a new entity. And there's even more, right? If you can't fall under those two, there's other ways to get people in.
Perfect. So Just can you give just a little for our audience here today? Can you just explain what the LMIA is? Because I think that is very common for us to hear that, but maybe some Brazilians don't really understand what the LMIA is.
Sure. So LMIE, as I said, it stands for Labor Market Impact Assessment. That's essentially a process that the Labor Department in Canada will handle, and this is the process of evaluating the employer and evaluating the job, condition and job offer prior to the person applying for a work permit. Now, we do have, in general, if I want to categorize the work permit, route for people that are coming to Canada, they're either falling under LMIA or LMIA exempt. Now, the ones that are falling under LMIA, as I said, there is one extra step, one extra phase involved, and that's dealing with the Labor Department in Canada prior to filing the work permit application. For the LMIA exempt categories, which ICT is one of them, intercorporate transferee, we're not dealing with that extra phase, and we're going straight to file an application for a work permit. Now, there are different streams of LMIA. I just don't want to make it sound more confusing as it is. But for now, for the sake of conversation, we're looking at the global town stream for IT workers.
Got it. So just to make sure that you don't have a lot of people in Canada looking for similar jobs before you bring someone from
it's more on the Canadian government looking at the labor market in that specific field, and realizing that the foreign workers are not only coming to Canada for the sake of coming to Canada, they're actually coming to cover the labor shortage. And so but for the purposes of global town stream, there are a lot of exemptions, and part of it is advertising, part of it is that labor shortage, because it's sort of all across the country. It's been determined that there is a shortage of IT workers in Canada, and the growth of industry or economy with respect to IT workers, it's kind of been given that there is a shortage all across the country, and so that aspect is not being determined as much by Labor Department.
Understood. So Sonia, how does Mirbaha Schachnow differentiate themselves in the marketplace?
So like I said at the beginning, we're a boutique law firm. So when it comes to boutique firms, they're more specialized in special field of law, in our case, immigration and business immigration per se. So what happens is that, you deal with clients very closely on a day in, day out basis, as opposed to larger corporations where they have different departments and they might not necessarily, there are a lot of legal assistants, there are a lot of people working, and, a client might not necessarily have a direct contact with the lawyer working on the file. We don't do that. We're having a very, very close relationship. And what I hear oftentimes by my corporate clients is that, well, you sound like you're a family member and you're always available, and we're just very happy with the service. So that's, I guess, one of the main points that differentiate us. Also, when it comes to dealing with smaller firms and more boutique firms, like I said, the personal service and the costs, the legal costs and everything kind of gets more manageable and under control, as opposed to larger firms. And to be honest with you, those are two main factors when a client is looking for hiring a law firm should be looking for. And so that's, I think, frankly, what differentiates us.
Yeah, that one-on-one relationship, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
To really solve their problems, right?
Right.
So Josh, immigration lawyer and entrepreneur yourself, right? So you're also the founder of Visto, as we mentioned. Any tips that you could share with the Brazilian entrepreneurs looking to establish a company in Canada as entrepreneur yourself?
Number one, figure out the immigration stuff. Make sure you're working with reliable people, because if you can't figure that out, the rest might be irrelevant. We're actually working with an entrepreneur from Brazil right now, and interestingly enough, a lot of the stuff that I've been focused on with him relate to things like marketing and sales, right? Because that's the big difference, right? A lot of businesses the same no matter where you do it, right? You have your revenue, you have your expenses, you need to make a profit at the end of the day, right? But what's very different is who you're selling to, right? So marketing materials? Do you have to translate things? How is the market? How are the people you're trying to market to in Canada different from those in Brazil, right? If you're only selling into Brazil, right? So what are the desires, needs, pain points, struggles of the Canadian market as opposed to the Brazilian market? So I would say the biggest thing is market research, marketing materials, sales strategies, because things are done, I don't want to say vary, but things are different, right? Between any two countries, some more so than others, but just be aware of the cultural, the market, the needs, the requirements, the pricing differences between the countries, and if you're looking to make the move and expand into Canada, we're happy to help with both, right? That's, I think, one of the other things. Like Sonia and I are both, we're both entrepreneurs, right? Running the firm. And so, we cover the legal side in terms of immigration, and then we try to give as much insight as we can on the business side as well to not just help the business set up from an immigration standpoint, but to actually succeed in Canada.
That's a very important point, because that's a lot of the work that we try to do, or we do with the startups as well, right? Like to translate those cultural differences. The way that you sell to a Brazilian company is not the same way that you're going to sell to a Canadian company, right? How to break the ice, how to get that trust. And I think that it's interesting. Brazilians sometimes are so used to have a lengthy process to open the company, to set up all the bureaucracy and the legal paperwork to have that company functioning. And in Canada, you can open a company in 24 hours. So you have to have everything else figured out before you even do that step. And I agree with you. It's all about having your immigration structured, and your programs defined, and really understand how Canadians buy things and how to sell to them.
So oftentimes what I have to add, sorry, Carolina, is that oftentimes there is this link between setting up the corporation here in Canada, and in the case of larger companies, setting up their structure. So what I figured myself explaining to the clients more often is that they're kind of mixing it with the immigration process. So there are two different specialties. There is a specialty of the corporate lawyer who is establishing a company in Canada, setting up setting up the structure based on the need of the client. And there comes the immigration right after. So I just wanted to differentiate these two processes. And from our perspective, we do have colleagues that are corporate lawyers, very successful and in really good firms. We do refer to them, or if the clients know any corporate lawyers in Canada or any firms that are, working in that area, they can do their groundwork first and then come to immigration to figure out, what are the possible ways of coming to Canada or bringing the employees to Canada.
Perfect. And any last advice or tips that you guys have to share with our audience here today?
No, for me.
Move in the summer, don't move in the winter.
Totally. Especially one for Brazilians. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You'll get a cultural shock, you'll get a weather shock, you get every kind of shock.
Move to Canada in May, so you'll have the full summer adaptation before it gets cold again.
Right. Totally.
Josh. Well, thank you very, very much, Sonia and Josh, for your time and your partnership, for being here with us today. For all the Brazilian entrepreneurs, for the tech companies and the skilled workers watching us here today, if you are looking for more information on what are your options, how to immigrate to Canada, please connect with Mirbaha and Schachnow, or go to visto.ai and take a look what are the options for you. And I'm sure they will be very happy to help you. And if you wanted to learn more about how the BCC can support you as well, please feel free to contact us anytime. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Carolina.